G'day Gear Junkies, Jason here. I'm a big fan of the band Alice in Chains. So when I found that a small British company had made a pedal that was based on Jerry Cantrell's guitar tone from the album Dirt, I had to get a hold of one. This was designed in collaboration with the YouTube channel Let's Play All. But before I begin, if you like this kind of content, please subscribe. And if you want to support this channel, you can go to the Middle Aged Gear Junkie store and purchase some merchandise, or you can support me through Patreon, where I'm uploading additional content. The links are in the description below. If you guys want me to do more artist tone videos, please let me know in the comments below and I'll see what I can do. So back in the late 80s and early 90s, Alice in Chains were the first of the big Seattle grunge bands to actually crack the big time with their hit song Man in the Box. Jerry Cantrell had a very interesting style of playing the guitar. He plays a lot of very dissonant guitar parts, both riffs and chord progressions that made their sound very, very eerie and unnerving at times. Jerry was known for blending amps in the recording process, but his go-to amp usually was a Bogner, and that's when he really established his sound in the early 90s. So the Funny Little Box's Dirt is supposed to replicate the tones, particularly from the album Dirt, but you should be able to get a lot of other Alice in Chains tones from this pedal as well. But this got me to thinking, rather than just do a review of this pedal, what I thought I'd do was kind of like I did with the Chili Peppers video that I did, and just grab a bunch of other pedals that I have that are the same or similar to other pedals that he also uses, and come up with a kind of Jerry Cantrell pedal board so that I can play even more examples than just a few riffs from the album Dirt. Here's my clean sound. I'm using the clean channel of my Mesa Solo head, and I've got the MXR Reverb on. All of the drive sounds you're going to hear on this video are from the Dirt pedal. Now, the only controls that I'm really going to play around with are the drive and mids controls. Now, the drive control, basically after about halfway, just adds a bit more compression. It doesn't make it that much more saturated. So I'll have it up for those really chunky songs. But for most of this stuff, I'm going to have it probably around halfway or just past halfway. And the mid control, for the stuff from the Dirt album, I'll have it probably just over halfway, and from the stuff from Facelift, I'll have it at halfway or a little bit less. The Dirt is a pretty hard pedal to get your hands on. The serial number for this one's in the 200s, so they're not made in large numbers. If you're looking for something that's more affordable and more available, you could try the NUX XTC OD, which is based on the Bogner Ecstasy pedal, and it does a pretty decent job. Now, obviously, I'm going to use the Dirt pedal here as the core of my tone. The guitar that Jerry Cantrell was most known for playing in the early 90s was the G&L Rampage. This had a single humbucker in the bridge and a Floyd Rose tremolo. But he was also known for playing a Les Paul from time to time as well. Now, the only guitar that I have that I think is close to the Rampage would be my Ibanez S series. This also has a Floyd Rose trem, and it also has a neck humbucker so that I can do some of that Les Paul stuff that the Rampage couldn't do. Unfortunately though, he tunes down to E flat, so I've tuned mine down to E flat, and it has played a bit of havoc with the tuning on this guitar. Another pedal that I'm using as an always-on pedal is the MXR Reverb. I'm using varying amounts depending on the example. So compared to other guitarists of the grunge era, Jerry had a fairly processed sound compared to, say, Kim Thayil or Kurt Cobain, who had a much more raw guitar tone. Jerry didn't mind a bit of reverb on his tones. A lot of their songs were slower, and usually the slower they were, or the more sparse they were, the more reverb he would use. So for some examples, the reverb's pretty much off, and other examples, I've turned the mix up and the decay up a little bit. For them bones, I've got the drive up at 3 o'clock, and I've got the mids just off center at about 1 o'clock, and I've turned the reverb almost all the way off for this song. Now for We Die Young, I'll use a similar setting, except I'm just going to back the mids off a bit because I just find that there's a little bit less mid bite on the Facelift album. Now for the song Wood, which is my equal favourite Alice in Chains song, I'm going to use my volume pot to roll off most of the gain for the verse, and I'm going to turn up the reverb a bit because it's fairly sparse. I'm going to use that same technique again to play Bleed the Freak. The version of Bleed the Freak that's on their best of, it's actually a live version, and their music video they did for it is also a live recording. Now, I swear on both of those recordings you can hear a phaser on that low gain part in the intro. So I'm going to do that again, but I'm going to use a phase 90. So this is the only time I'm going to use this. This is kind of like an optional extra, but I think it helps to bring that intro part to life a bit more. An underrated part of Jerry Cantrell's guitar playing is his lead guitar work. Now, he's not what you'd call a shredder, but he creates a lot of dissonance and tension with his lead guitar work. But in the song Nutshell, he provides this very melodic yet melancholy lead guitar part that works really, really well within that song. Now, just for context, I'll play it again, but I've just pre-recorded my acoustic guitar going into my looper so that you can get some context of where this lead guitar line fits within the chord progression. Jerry Cantrell very rarely uses clean sounds, and when he does, he tends to use modulation effects with it, most notably flanger. Now, he's known to use the MXR flanger, I don't have an MXR flanger, but I do have a pedal that is based on the MXR flanger, which is the Past Effects Hot for Flanger, which is basically a tweaked out version of the MXR flanger. And I'm going to use this to play the intro to Rooster. Jerry also uses flanger on my equal favourite Alice in Chains song, which is Down in a Hole. You'll hear the flanger kick in when the vocals come in with Bury Me Softly. One of the tones that really perplexed me from the album Dirt was the clean sound at the start of Angry Chair. It was really hard to define what that tone was. And for me, I mean, it sounds kind of like a chorus, but it's not a chorus. It sounds kind of like a flanger, but not how you typically use one. So the closest I could get to it was by using the flanger, turning the regen all the way off, and turning the manual right down to get a sort of almost sort of a comb filter sound. Jerry Cantrell was a big fan of wah. He was one of the guys to help to repopularize this effect in the early 90s along with Slash and Kirk Hammett. Now he tends to use the wah a lot on little embellishment parts, sort of additional tracks throughout the album, so parts that he may not always play live. But he does use it on some riffs and he does use it for some lead lines as well. He also uses it on the riff just after the chorus in the song Rooster. Jerry also uses wah on some of his lead lines, like in the song Grind. So Grind has a riff that goes... And he does all these little lead parts that create a lot of tension using the wah pedal. Now, I know Jerry has his own signature wah, which has been out for about the last 15 years, but in the early 90s, he would have just been using a standard Crybaby. Here's my Jerry Cantrell pedalboard. Please leave a comment below if you thought I did a good job or if there's something you think I forgot or could have done better. I know that I didn't play all of the examples absolutely perfectly, so apologies for that. And I also apologize for not playing any of Alice in Chains' newer songs or any of Jerry's solo stuff. I decided to keep it classic. Personally, I think that the Funny Little Box's Dirt pedal did a fantastic job of approximating those Jerry Cantrell tones, and I can tell you that it sounds even better when paired with my Les Paul or Paul Reed Smith guitar. I just didn't think that either of those particular guitars were appropriate for this demo though. If you guys want me to do more artist tone videos like this, let me know in the comments below. Maybe also let me know what your favorite Alice in Chains songs are. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. You can support this channel by going to the Middle Age Gear Junkie store and purchasing some merchandise, or you can support me through Patreon. Other than that, my name is Jason. Have a wonderful day. See you later.